Okiesh, Marty Tranka, Ubachi Tiki, Tatiopaki, Ohinia Ispayanke.
Oxika Hawa Chiplo.
Wicheskaki he na untaka piki hinapa piktelo.
Määräty tanka obachi. Inana kahuo. Wakawama kanje ektam niktalo. Ot ka lila ka yuziacha. Ya uachinyelo.
Tanka o iyo kipielo.
Wa, ichecha sechawa.
O kajije cha unku pelo.
Takuni pishni.
A pishni anke.
Lila chankuo tayalo. O kaya shi bluk chanchana. Jila washteki he. Ikchewi chashat unkehi he yalo. O oganala cha. Wopela yalo.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.
Some call Bregna the perfect society. Some call it the height of human civilization. But others know better. The good childs built Bregna to ensure us a future. They built the Relical, a memorial to remind us of what we've survived. They built walls to protect us. They tell us that outside, nature has retaken the world. But the real problems lie within. We are haunted by sorrows we cannot name. People disappear, and our government denies these crimes. The good child regime provides for us as long as we stay quiet. So we trade freedom for a gilded cage. But there are rebels who refuse to make that trade, who fight to overthrow a government that silences us, who fight in the name of the disappeared. They call themselves the Monicans. I am one of them.
You're right.
Please don't hurt my baby.
She's safe.
You cloned her.
I cloned everybody. There was a complication when we cured the industrial disease. The vaccine had an unintended side effect. Sterility. Only one more generation of our species could survive. It was a desperate time. Cloning had never been used on humans successfully. But we succeeded. Now, when a person dies, their DNA is recycled. Oren and I built the Relical to store the DNA and conceal the cloning process. The keeper finds a suitable couple, and using food additives, we induce a chemical pregnancy. When the woman comes in for an exam, we implant a cloned embryo. From there, things happen naturally. In 9 months, a citizen who died is reborn. For 7 generations, Oren and I have cloned ourselves, taught ourselves, so that I could keep trying to find a cure, while we all live on.
That's what we are. Copies.
We're more than that. It wasn't supposed to be permanent. I've been trying to cure the infertility. Una was part of one of my test groups. Oren lied to me. He told me her test had failed like the others. But she had become pregnant. He killed all of the subjects. Your sister included.
He killed her because she was pregnant.
Una didn't know it, but her baby would have been one of the first new children in 400 years. Oren's changed. He doesn't want to go back. He doesn't want a cure.
He wants to live forever.
You must have been expecting this after helping that mannequin. Your loyalty to Trevor can't protect you anymore.
I'm loyal to something deeper than any of this.
I don't understand people like you and Trevor. Your sentimentality, your devotion to the past, to things that are gone.
I couldn't live without those things. How can you?
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line, but I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it.
Hey, you epics, welcome. Under Hodge, Infinite Potential Healing, serving the truth with you once more. Thank you as always for allowing me to be a part of your journey, and you being an epic out there, I hope it's going really well for you. And if it's not, I hope the data and all the teachings I've offered and even my healing services have helped you to endure everything going on and navigate it and find your infinite potential in it all, alright? So I want to thank you for being here. It's been a while since I've done a video. And this is going to be probably influences part 9, something to do about the influences of society and stuff like that. So what I did, I've been a bit busy, and I've actually stepped back from doing these videos and stuff and just see how that is, and letting go of the need to be out there and stuff like that and teach. And honestly, I've been managing all the variables going on, and I've tried to offer a lot of new concepts this year to really help you see what's going on and the masterful nature of everything and the scale of it and the need for us to really raise our bar on what is even possible and stuff like that. So this is towards the end of October, and what I was aiming to do, I've been a bit busy and I've had interesting timings with things, and not that I'm not on my game, but I always am very thorough, and you know, I always clear and make sure I'm on my game before I even come and do this to feel what comes through and all that sort of stuff, alright? And my timings of getting the videos done and all that, my priority has been with sessions and being proactive with people and stuff. And what I was going to do, I was going to release a video a bit shorter than what I normally do, just like a touch base and offering you some of the variables that have worked out and stuff like that. And so I did a real short one, for me anyway, half an hour or whatever, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. And I was going to release it a bit after when I normally do it. And my day, I just had to get proactive on healing and healing things around me and helping people out and stuff. And I just never got around to doing it. And so what I decided to do is pull back with that. And now I'm doing this almost a week later. There's so much that's changed since then as well, right? And so what I want to do in this video is just offer you that 30-minute, 25, 30-minute segment and stuff, because there's a lot of data, and I love being authentic and doing my best in a video and just going with the flow and streaming. And if I miss stuff and all that, that's cool. But I feel it was a very rich offering, and so I'm going to offer that in the main body of this, all right? And there's some pretty important concepts that I put in there, and just to ideally help you recalibrate you and put you back on your game and help remind you of certain things that maybe you're not able to splice up and identify because of how challenging it is, and how you might feel there might be a massive gap in you and there's so much more to know. But I want to really fire that self-awareness up that you're actually pretty epic, and one of the very minute percentages in humanity at the moment to even be able to contemplate this stuff, right? So what I want to do is just do like a little short intro here. What I might do is offer some clips between this and when I offer the main body. So if you've invested into my version 5 of my sovereignty declaration, then you've appreciated that I've spliced it up into all different sections, the bigger scales and multi-dimensional stuff, and the societal bigger scales, and then the influences on society, and then the influence that might be going at you multi-dimensionally by all the negative stuff that I sort of try and bring forward to help empower you to engage your superiority to be able to overcome it all and stuff. And in the bigger society sort of stuff, one of the things I offered was the cloud-proven strategy. I probably butchered the naming of it, but I think it's really not appreciated in society, and it's a strategy that's being used to really destroy the Western world and undermine us. And maybe I get clips from it as well, but there was this really cool documentary, I think it was 9 years ago, 2016 it came out. It's called The Climate Hustle as well. That might be something you want to watch with all the net zero stuff going on. And it's just really fascinating that, you know, in society they bubble up all these narrative sort of things, and then they really put a lot of energy behind it to create concepts that people just follow, and they don't even know it's not in our best interest or truth and stuff like that. So it's, in this video I talk about vested interests and what people are governed by and stuff like that, versus being altruistic and measuring all the truth, because I've always sort of instilled, and I don't want to keep repeating myself, but once you have a basis of the truth and then you navigate with the truth and you're altruistic and you want the best and a win-win for everyone, then ideally we should all be in a lot better position. But I talk a lot about this psychology of sort of people and how they go into fear and retreat, and then they go service the self and stuff like that. And you might be governed by altruism and you might be investing in people. They come to you and are all into it, but they might be in a crisis and they're just looking to get nourished and to feed and get that support. And then once you put them back together, then they go back on the path and it's like a reward for them and stuff. So it's tough to navigate in this world at the moment, and it's just really fascinating how people aren't governed by really finding what the truth is to actually have a foundation to navigate from. And then we all are actually aligned to that, and actually a lot of the stuff isn't going to work that's being rolled out, but it's just, you might be like watching this as a horror movie, and we have to accept that humanity is its own worst enemy at some time and stuff like that. And ideally, how do we navigate in it? All right. So it's interesting times, right? And then how do we navigate and stuff? And to me, ideally, if you've taken on board the stuff I've offered that isn't aimed to be contrarian by a deliberate effort for that, it's just, if you appreciate energy hygiene and how little it's done, and then sovereignty and stuff, ideally that's a very simple logical mechanics of navigating and stuff. And I've found with myself, I've had to really go back and trust what I worked out, and there's been a pretty significant effort to instill in myself that I'm not good enough and all that sort of stuff. So I talk about those sort of things in the main body that I'm going to offer and stuff, so, and help you get a reference of yourself and stuff like that, and ideally pull yourself back together and get solid and then push through and endure all this stuff going on. All right. So what I'm going to do is just offer the main body now. What I might do is offer a few clips just to help remind a few things in the cloud-proven strategy. I probably aren't pronouncing it accurately. But this clip, it's something I came across a while ago, and I've been across it for probably 18 months and stuff, and it's not just about the US, it's the whole Western world. And it's just fascinating that to me it's like the West is perceived as a threat, and so there's been all these programs to derail and undermine the threat of the system, and it's going at us on the West. And then the psychology of people is fascinating, of not the idealist view or the accurate view of what people actually do. So ideally I'm not making this too heavy, it's just a good reminder. And hopefully what you take away is that, yes, you recognize these things about yourself and you pull yourself back and stuff, all right? And get yourself solid and take a breath and push forward, all right? So I'm going to leave you here, and I'll offer some clips, and then I'll off the main body, and then I'll come back at the end and I'll just do a bit more of expansion of those sort of things, all right? And a reminder of many things, all right? So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you get a lot from it, and I'll see you on the other side, all right? Enjoy.
I'm Rosa Corey, and I'm from the United States, California. And my topic, what I speak about, is one of the most vitally important issues of our age, and that is United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. And as I'll be talking about tomorrow, it is the inventory and control plan. Inventory and control of all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all food, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. And this is a plan that was agreed to by 179 nations back in 1992. It's a United Nations plan. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. And so many of us around the world think that well, sustainable development, it just sounds so great. Isn't it about recycling and creative reuse and creating energy and food resources for everyone? And the answer is no, it really is not. It's about moving populations into city centers, concentrated city centers, and clearing them out of the rural areas. So I found out about it in a very unusual way, actually, because I spent my career as a legal witness, as an expert witness for the California Department of Transportation. I'm an expert in land use and land valuation, and my specialty is in eminent domain valuation. So, of course, I was valuing property for the government so that the government could acquire that property for road projects. And what I found about 10 years ago, or 10 or 13 years ago, was that land actually, it was very difficult to say what it was worth because you couldn't know what people could do with it because they were being restricted from using their property. And as I explored that and found that it wasn't just in the San Francisco Bay Area where I was working, it was in fact all across the nation and the world, I looked behind that and I found United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. We created the Post-Sustainability Institute in order to educate people about the economic, social, political, and environmental impacts of communitarianism on the world. And communitarianism is that concept, that social and political construct that says that the individual's rights should be balanced against the rights of the community. And of course, the community is that amorphous, undefined community that we, when we talk about community, we think we're, of course, part of it and that, it's a positive thing. But really, community is constructed. It's constructed of non-governmental organizations, corporations, and government in order to dictate and regulate what it is that happens around the world. And we, as individuals, have literally no influence on that unless we are in agreement with it. If you dissent against the community, against communitarian law, or against communitarian social tactics, you're rejected and basically made an outcast. And that is something that we wanted to expose to the world. And the reason that we created the Post-Sustainability Institute was in order to sue. We sued our local government, and right now we're suing up higher up in order to stop regional plans, because regionalization is the stepping stone to globalization, and globalization is the standardization of all systems. So that includes water, law enforcement, education, energy. All systems have to be brought into harmony in order to control them all. Because when systems don't meet, when they're out of balance or not in sync with one another, they can't be controlled centrally. And the goal of Agenda 21 is one world government and total control from a central unit. America, the United States of America, is really under attack right now. We, in the United States, are, the U.S. landmass is about 2.5 times the size of Europe and has roughly half the population, just over half. That landmass is huge, and about 75% of the population lives in large cities. The goal is to move everyone out of the rural areas and into the large cities, and to destroy representative government, and to move it into to a more to government by unelected boards and commissions. Now, here in the EU, of course, you've already moved to that position, where it's an erasure of jurisdictional boundaries, an erasure of national boundaries. And that is the goal, because, as Zbigniew Brzezinski said in 1995, you can't just impose globalization pell-mell as a total movement. You have to do it incrementally, and the way to do that is through regionalization. And in Denmark, for instance, in Denmark, every nation that signed on to Agenda 21 has its local Agenda 21 plan. People in the United States are completely unaware of this. If I go out and talk about this, the United States press attacks me and calls me a conspiracy theorist, which is totally ridiculous. It is a conspiracy, but it's not a theory. It's a fact. Here in Europe, it's openly spoken about, local Agenda 21. And of course, here in Denmark, the Aalborg principles, 1994, and then Aalborg plus 10, 2004, was the European Roundtable for Local Agenda 21, was held here. And the principles are public-private partnerships, which is fascism. And this is how it's implemented on the ground, is through this joining together between corporations, non-governmental organizations, and governments, in order to cut out the actual individual, your voter, and instead to take that to a level where we literally cannot penetrate. And this is the goal. So this is already far progressed in Europe. The 3 pillars of United Nations Agenda 21 are economy, ecology, and equity, the 3 E's, the social equity. And everyone sort of thinks that they know what that means, the idea of social equity. It must mean that, everyone's going to have access to clean water and clean air, and no one's property is going to be used as a dumping ground because they are at a poverty level. But really what social equity is about impoverishing huge portions of the population and bringing down the developed nations. And while this sounds like, it sounds almost like in the United States, you'd call that a right-wing point of view, a conservative right-wing point of view. I personally am a liberal. The idea that something this drastic, this radical, would be happening worldwide without people knowing it. All you have to do is look at austerity measures, restrictions on transfers of wealth, additional restrictions on land use, ability, to produce, to use your energy, your water, your industry. All of this is happening in developed nations. So when you have your infrastructure attacked like that, it's going to have a tremendous impact on your ability to prosper, as well as the idea that that everything that we're looking at now is destined to collapse our economies. Because the idea, this is a corporatocracy. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world. And what major corporations want in this fascist development is to be able to have full movement of workers without borders or boundaries, to be able to move their goods through without regulations, and to reduce wages. And so this is the goal. So this is what you find with social equity. That's code for social equity for this movement and reduction of the population. So, and of course, economy and ecology is about bringing into balance economy. These are the three circles: economy, ecology, and social equity. And where they meet in the center is balance. But really that balance is a communitarian balance. So it's not balance of well-being of the people. What it is it's a balance for corporations so that they can exploit and control and have populations in an area, in tightly packed, dense areas, so that they can be surveilled and managed. And this is what that balance looks like as far as the development of a totalitarian state is.
The Cloward-Piven strategy was developed by Richard Cloward and Francis Piven in the 1960s. It outlines a strategy for radical social change by way of abusing the system to the point of destruction.
You know, we were associated with the social work tradition, which said that the programs worked as they were supposed to work. But they didn't work as they were supposed to work. And it was out of that realization, that insight, that we developed the strategy to end poverty, which called for a massive mobilization of social workers and lawyers and organizers to get people the benefits to which they were entitled. We were proposing a kind of movement that demanded what people were already entitled to by law, by regulation, by propaganda.
The primary goal of the Cloward-Piven strategy is to create a political and economic crisis that would destroy capitalism and lead to the implementation of a socialist system with a guaranteed income. The strategy involves enrolling large numbers of people into the welfare system, as many people as it takes to overwhelm and strain the system until it collapses. Everyone enrolled into the welfare system is also used as an army to carry out the destruction of the current system. They are registered to vote and instructed on how to vote. They are organized and mobilized and made to appear as grassroots organizations demanding more from the system. The ideal outcome of the Cloward-Piven strategy is to collapse the current system. According to their theory, this will compel the government to implement a universal basic income, which would then shift the U.S. towards a more socialist system with increased government control over the economy. Everyone is being encouraged to do it. Burn it down is the new sexy ring. In high school, they compare it to the American Revolution.
The Cloward-Piven strategy is a political gambit designed to overwhelm the American government by placing so many demands on the bureaucratic structure that it collapses. It's sort of a shock and awe campaign, a surprise attack on entrenched systems meant to force major changes to the ways that things are handled by the government. It may be messy, but it does harken back to a fundamental ideology of the American Republic. If it ain't fixed, break it.
All of this explains the likes of AOC.
What people like AOC are doing, what the squad is doing, is really very important, very important. But at the same time, there is this movement which is so big. Some people say it's the biggest movement in American history. It's hard to know because it's hard to measure a movement, but it is big and it is interracial and it penetrates into every small town. I now am in upstate New York. The town I'm closest to has maybe 2,000 people. You know, we have little demonstrations in front of the post office for Black Lives Matter. And this is Trump country. Nevertheless, there is a Black Lives Matter demonstration. So it's a very potent and important moment in American political development. And we have to make the most of it, because if we don't, We don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be good.
The official way to immigrate into the United States is very similar to most countries. File an immigrant petition with the government, and upon approval, apply for a visa. You will then have to maintain a productive status for several years if you want to consider citizenship. But there is a new system now in place. This new system is not official, nor is it legal, and it's being done by thousands of government employees who have sworn an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution. And yet, here they all are, submitting to the United Nations agenda and committing treason. On the Mexico side, Mexican immigration officers lead crowds of people to crossing points at the border. On the American side, government workers wait for the cover of darkness, and in the middle of the night, federal employees begin processing the large crowd with mobile devices. Middle schools are used as processing centers. Buses are backed in past the media as Border Patrol use government vehicles to try blocking the cameras from filming the migrants being loaded on board and brought into the country. The migrants are given mobile phones as a digital form of ID, bus tickets, debit cards, and court dates set 4 years from now. There are no checks or balances in this new de facto immigration system, and it's turning thousands of government workers into traitors to their own country. We Americans are under attack by our own government. We, the people, have no choice but to once again defend our freedom. This has all happened before, and we can learn much from the American Revolution. Starting in 1763, to pay for debts incurred from a war with France, the British began enforcing new taxes on the American colonies. In response to this, the colonies set up their own parallel government, based on a simple structure of 3 committees delegated to voice the will of the people. A committee of correspondence to disseminate information. A committee of inspection to enforce Continental Congress decisions. And the most important of the 3, a committee of safety to act as general executive in the absence of legal authority. These committees stemmed from each community of all the colonies, and each and every local committee of safety had 2 missions: to provide military support and monitor political affairs. Each community delegated its own representatives to speak on their behalf at the county level, and then at the state level, where state legislatures are thereby formed, and senators are elected to represent the overall interests of the people in that state. With these committees, the 13 colonies honorably created a parallel government that lawfully nullified British rule. This compelled the Crown to take it back by force, which was met by an honorable and lawful defense of the colonies, known as the American Revolution. The 3-committee structure that made up this parallel government inspired our U.S. Constitution, a concept of government based upon delegation. Individuals were not elected to rule. Their only purpose was to facilitate and implement the will of the people. It was a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Each state was considered to be its own country, which was freely subordinating aspects of its own authority to a federal government. Lawfully speaking, this has never changed, but the federal government of the United States has become bloated with loyalists to the City of London and enemies of we the people. For well over a century, we the people have been coerced into becoming voluntary slaves to a multinational corporate power structure, which has increasingly dumbed us down more and more with each generation. Unconstitutional amendments have been enacted. Constitutional limits of representation have been ignored. And by accepting Federal Reserve banknotes, we have made ourselves a dishonorable nation of debtors. By continually contracting with the corporate U.S. being operated out of the Washington, D.C. city-state, Americans are perpetually surrendering their constitutional sovereignty in return for corporate benefits. We share a common enemy with our founding fathers. Today we call them globalists. Back then, they called them British, a foreign power exploiting the will and destiny of Americans. And back then, their remedy was the Committee of Safety.
Hello, Jerry. Where is she?
We put her on a plane this morning. To the Lebanon. That's where she wanted to go.
Bullshit.
Is the gun really necessary?
Where is she?
The organizing principle of any society is for war. The basic authority of a modern state over its people resides in its war powers. Today, it's oil. Tomorrow, water. It's what we like to call the God business. Guns, oil, and drugs. But there's a problem.
I don't give a shit.
Our way of life. It's over. It's unsustainable and in rapid decline. That's why we implement demand destruction. We continue to make money as the world burns. But for this to work, the people have to remain ignorant of the problem until it's too late. That's why we have triggers in place. 9/11, 7/7, WMDs. A population in a permanent state of fear does not ask questions. Our desire for war becomes its desire. A willing sacrifice. You see? Fear is justification. Fear is control. Fear is money. You're a brilliant soldier, and I could still use someone like you.
Hey, you epics. Welcome. It's Andre Hodge, Infinite Potential Healing with you once more, and offering a pretty random, unique video for me. I don't know what I'm going to call it, and I don't know whether it's going to be related to any of the themes I've offered. Everything always overlaps and stuff, so it's been a little while since I've actually done a video, and there's a number of reasons for that. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world, and I'm concerned for people, and operating as a healer like I do, trying to do my best for people and earth and pure source and stuff and all those big concepts that were worked out that trickle down to everything going on. Just holding the line in my life and physically and all that sort of stuff with everything going on. I really love doing the videos and stuff, trying to measure what to do. Everything's changing so much. I mean, if you've been across many of my new themes that I've offered this year, like the internet of the multidimensional internet theme, and going back earlier in the year doing the money politics and stuff like that, it's interesting. Like, I remember doing that and offering a bit about the UN and stuff like that, and then I don't know, it must be 6 months ago when Musk and Trump had a falling out, and it was all about the Epstein files and stuff like that, and then they had a falling out, and being so entrenched with each other, and that was a bit of a left field variable going on into reality, and it sort of doesn't add up and all that sort of stuff, right? But I think it's a bit like a reality variable whiplash going on, and it's constantly like that, and everyone's got sore necks from trying to navigate through all this crap and stuff, what's going on. And there's also this background sense of a foreboding sort of stuff going on, and then, you know, when things are in challenge and stuff like that, and there's things going on that aren't right and stuff, you would idealistically think people rise up and they unify and they stand up against it and stuff. But what actually goes on is actually people retreat into their service to self sort of stuff. They go into fear and retreat and worry about themselves and all that sort of stuff. So there's an idealist view and a actual what actually goes on sort of thing. And then I would say you're here and you have a lot of compassion, you worry about people and you want the best for everyone, and you're altruistic on a level and stuff, and you're hyped to be a leader and stuff like that. And if you really embodied the stuff that I've offered, like the pure source and working out the big scales, how it all trickles down, you ideally be an example for others and they want to follow. But it's like they can't even see it. Like you're at here and they don't even measure, they don't even know the questions to ask and stuff, because unfortunately a lot of the energy hygiene stuff is just pretty outrageous and all that, right? And no one really, I mean, have you ever, if you've interacted with healers or other people in the community, do you think that they actually do any energy hygiene and stuff like that? It's not a concept that's even perceived, let alone embodied or invested in. And so I just appreciating all this, and me being ideally a reference for you guys and how to navigate, and ideally we find a solution in all this sort of stuff. It's pretty interesting, right? So I just wanted to do a touch base. I haven't really done videos and stuff. Like for me to work out a theme, like I was sort of getting to, I'm sort of like going through and watching videos and stuff, and I get aha moments in this video, and like there's a clip that would be really good and stuff like that. So it's a lot of work to go in and get them and create them and stuff, and then work out how long to make a video and all that sort of stuff, and how much people are going to watch and whether they're going to watch it and stuff, and then to create it and do all the effort. It's quite a bit of effort. So what I've actually done is more focused in, say, the last month of, I've had like this, I would say just, I'm very fortunate. I have like a lot of people that come back for sessions and stuff, and it's really fascinating. I trust my mechanics and I just do it, and ideally I help set people up to be able to navigate and clear the path for their journey and stuff. But it's like, it's fascinating with all the variables going on in the world, like the overwhelming of society, and I've used a lot of the language in my sovereignty declaration and stuff, like the cloud priven, I think that's the way you pronounce it, strategy going on. And really it has to be said, the deliberate destruction of the West at the moment, right, to overwhelm us and then put people in it's a bit like there's a shock and awe of society where people can't even believe what's going on, that the structures that people trust and default their authority to don't have their best interests going on. And I think it's like a real subtle sort of holy crap of what's gone on the last 6 years. There's still a lot of, basically, it's like an abusive relationship. People are just trying to navigate and eke out their existence and stuff. And honestly, I want the best for each person to be able to do that and thrive and stuff. And then there's a lot of people that have benefited from that, and the decadence at the extremes of society are just fascinating. And yeah, it's just, so I've just been I've been processing all this, and so instead of, say, doing videos for this last month, I've invested in a pretty core group of people that I've been very fortunate. They've invested a lot in me and stuff, and they've been in trouble, and a lot of people are just so smashed. It's like the uncertainty of this world, then people retreat and then they don't invest and stuff, and then the absence of healing, and it just, the smashing escalates. And the other thing that it's really going on, and so I know they're in trouble and stuff, and things are going on in their lives and stuff, so I've been proactive. I love being proactive and doing what I do, so I've put a lot of effort into a lot of people and help get them going. Plus I've done a lot of GSFs, and shout out to the allies out there relative to them. I get a lot of data and I collect it all, and then I just want to go clobber stuff, right? Like take out all the bullshit going on in the world on the Team Fracker out there and tear them a new pure source a-hole, right? But there's been scenarios going on. I've collected a lot of data, and so then I have all the reference points to be like a bit of a sniper sort of stuff, and then direct things. And so relative to a lot of people that are having big stuff going on around them, I do my best for each individual and get them on top of their game. And I've actually helped people get awareness, and then they actually see all the shit that's going on around them, and it's like, holy crap. They have the awareness, but then it's like, how do you maintain that awareness and being clear? And that's everything I've talked about. You might not, it might have gone past to the catcher sort of thing of the stuff I've said, but I've offered everything I've offered with all the data points of the reasons why, with what's going on in society, why being spiritually selfish and really investing in your potential now, with all the concepts I've offered. Because to me, going back to energy hygiene, like it's like a multi-dimensional sea out there with all like jellyfish and all that sort of stuff, and people have all this crap on them and they just don't know it. Like I go into public transport and stuff and just sense what's going on, and there might be like sleeper stuff on people, and it's just waiting for an aware person such as you, maybe a threat to the reality, and it just jumps on you and stuff, and you have to be able to recognize what's going on in your body or your energy field, the biofield, like Sabrina Wallace talks about, and just be able to know how to negate it. And to me, it's not about getting freaked out about sensing stuff, it's trusting that you have the mechanics in your emotional state to flip it all and return yourself to being clear and all that sort of stuff. So I think a lot of people have, maybe it's just like, oh yeah, it's interesting what Andre's saying and stuff, but then they have an actual reference of an experience like, this shit sucks, like what's going on, and freak out, and it's not a bad thing, right? Experience is the key to wisdom. And I said a long time ago, like the first time that you have an awareness experience, you might actually be freaking smashed, and it's like, holy crap, what the hell is going on? And then you go through healing and you clear out and get your spleen clear, so you get your energy back and stuff like that. You go through the experience and you understand, like, oh, I get what Andre's talking about, you know. So but it's just been on for a lot of people, and I think with that, with not adding up, then we've gone and looked at the bigger scale and gone to town on all the stuff. So a lot in the EU and different regions, and what's going on in the land, like there's just really nasty stuff in the grids of the regions of the world, and messing with like the true allies on the earth and stuff like that. Like I've done earth pranic during the week, and it took a while to get there because of a lot of stuff going on, and prioritizing the people and stuff. But yeah, it's just like, how is earth so smashed, you know? Ideally we could be on a planet that the soul is really good. There's been a consistent effort from my perspective to eject her soul and insert another soul to take over the planet and stuff, which is pretty horrible to even contemplate. But when you appreciate maybe what you're going through and stuff like that, then these are the level of things that we're all enduring, and it's really amazing just to weather the storm. And then you might be pretty proactive and really coming on, and you would like to think that there's allies around you, but most people are just so messed up, and it'd be nice to have allies that you can fall back on and trust. But I would just be offering a discernment in those situations, because it might be trying to set you up for that, to fall back on someone and they're really messed up and you just absolutely get smashed. So you've got to be very vigilant. And I just want to offer what I offered very early on in my multidimensional method to the 3D Madness series, where I talked about sanctuary space and sanctuary state, right? So you've got to be able to have ideally have a reference of yourself, right? That you know, oh, there's something. If you have that and you go here and you're a bit messed up, it's like you can retreat back and do a mathematical equation and just like remove the stuff and restore yourself, right? And another thing that we've found, and this is like mind-boggling when I'm dealing with people, and it's like, oh, I get what's influencing with people. So we've got all these energy bodies, right? Imagine it's just like a sandwich with all the different ingredients. And what's been happening is there's been fake energy bodies inserted that are really don't even realize, and it's like a file that's corrupting everything else. And if you got the assumption you're good on that level and you just think everything is good, then you don't even know there's something going on, and you're like a bit like Swiss cheese, and You imagine you're trying to perceive stuff and defend yourself, and it's just like there's a backdoor hacking you via those sort of things, and so those things are going on. And the other thing I feel with what's going on with people, just imagine no one's clean, no one's energy hygiene is good enough, and they've all got stuff going on with them and they don't even know it. Like, they might have a plate in their head and it's just messing with their emotions, or it might be you're an ally and it just steers them away from you and not doing the right thing. All this stuff is pretty crazy. I mean, there's a series called Westworld. Season 3 and Season 4 particularly is all about how they're influencing people, and there's a lot of reference sort of stuff going on there. And so one thing that's going on with people, just imagine people have all these overlays, right? And it's not them, it's like an overlay of all the influences going on. So you might be interacting with people, and then their overlay comes on you and stuff, and you might say certain things and you think you're trying to wake them, and then this stuff kicks in and it goes at you and stuff. And honestly, it's like entities and being possessed and stuff like that. People have to have the will to, say, explore energy hygiene and do healing and stuff like that. And so you just got to be not in fear but aware of this. And because to me it's like, if you say the certain words and you hold your line and don't accommodate a lot of stuff, you can actually blast it out of people and stuff. And yeah, you shouldn't be perturbed by all this stuff going on. I feel very rich by having this awareness of being able to appreciate what's going on, because ideally if we have that context and we have solution potential, then it comes back to how, like, the foundation of society is very unstable, and people feel that. And that simmering of uncertainty is bubbling up into people, whether they know it or not, right? They're affected by it. It's a bit like before the Chaos 19. It's just like our prefrontal cortex, like everyone was connected to a multi-dimensional field, and it was like all the morals were there and stuff. And with what's been rolled out with the technology, the frequency technology, because the reaction of our bodies was basically that. And then they came in with a system to put the Internet of Bodies through us and stuff. It's just really the audaciousness of the big scale programs running. Like, I was having a chat overnight with an ally and doing a session and stuff. So I'm doing this in a different day because I had a big session over, like, a bit of a prime time for me and stuff, and doing it with people like that is, so I had a really interesting interaction of explaining this, because to me, I said about the UN being moved over to the Middle East, and all the destabilization around that region is to create the void to justify the expansion, and then they're basically taking over all of Earth, right? Turning Earth into Coruscant, if you know Star Wars, right? Or Foundation, I forget the home planet of the Foundation, but that sort of thing, right? And it's just fascinating, like the complexity and the genius going on. We just have to appreciate the stuff operating as a whole another level beyond what we're all educated and stuff like that. So to me, it's like the UN, right? It's a program that was put in, and everyone's drawn into that and stuff like that. But then there's all this stuff that goes on in that potentially is horrific and corrupt and stuff like that. So there's this variable that comes in that sees it as wrong. There's people investing in it that hold the line, and there's good in it as well, right? But so you see the UN of like a big program with influencing all the countries and all that sort of stuff, and then what's going on now is there's a flipping of it, right? So the US has sort of not funded that anymore. They've not given it $1 billion, which means they've got to cut employees by 20% and all this sort of stuff. And what sort of Trump said in the UN was accurate, but it's like the stuff was set up for failure, if you get my drift, and it's drawing people in and doing a lot of programs, and then it's like it's taking on the baggage of all the stuff that's done, so then it's being looked at as wrong, and then they've got something planned after it. It's just appreciate like the scales of all the people it affects and stuff. and then the influence it has on sway, and then sort of setting up for failure to create something new. A bit like David Icke, he talks about problem, reaction, solution. So it's sort of those sort of things, and that's just that one thing. And then there's all the medical stuff and all the food, and so yeah, it's just because you got to understand, if that happens, then something bad has to happen at the region where it is at the moment. And you look at all the craziness going on and stuff, and how do you navigate through it, right? And I think a lot of this sort of distraction is you have to sort of weather the storm through it and just see it as the purpose. But I feel like us having the awareness of this and the pure source alignment and stuff, and everything sort of done to anyone aligned with that, which sort of suggests it is a threat, thus why it is the solution and way forward sort of thing. It's not all that pretty, and it isn't idealist. You would ideally think that people gravitate to you and stuff, but there's no even awareness, or I don't know if you've had many conversations with people, they're just not even on the level to even ask the right questions and stuff, and know there is something better and all that sort of stuff, right? So yeah, I just wanted to offer a few things. I don't want this to be too long. I just wanted to say hi. I hope that offers an interesting reference, and it gives a bit of a reference to me, because I haven't been on doing all these sort of things. But I would just say congratulations if you made it through what it's been like the last few months and stuff. It has not been easy, and all those variables simmering underneath the structure of society, you're probably feeling it, and if anything, you're probably finding it difficult to deal with people and stuff. And like I say, you can appreciate all the variables I say, like all the vested interests of people as well, you know, all that uncertainty, and so they've got agendas and they want to get something, so they will contort everything to fit that, and it's just got to watch the vested interests of people versus altruism, like I say, and don't allow your generosity of spirit and all that to be compromised. You don't have to take the crap energetically of what's going on with people, and just watch all the variables around you. I would say, you know, if you're here and into this stuff and you've been into the sovereignty declaration and all that sort of stuff, then it's probably not been an ideal journey for you. It's probably been really tough, and just dealing with the people I've dealt with and what they're going through and the scales of things. Ideally, we've helped everyone, right? Including you, wherever you are and stuff. I would love to talk about some of the stuff. I've shared some of the audios to a few of the people around me and stuff. And I just, like, for me, a lot has gone at me and what's happened to sort of not trust myself in this. And oh, this is another thing. And have a negative perception and appreciation of things, and have a dread and all this sort of stuff, right? So what I feel, right, and you're probably being mega targeted and you don't even know it, right? But what I feel is that, and I found this with certain people that I've dealt with, is that because we are really on our game energetically and dimensionally with all this stuff, right? What's going on is we might actually have our awareness expanded. Like if you've gone through the declaration of the overwhelming of awareness and stuff, and got a lot of insects around me. I'm trying to not get destroyed by mozzies, right? But one thing that's going on is really actually engaging your higher awareness and higher dimensional stuff, even if you don't know it. And then a lot of stuff might be coming at you, like the energy hygiene or the influences to create a negative emotional state, right? And then it's actually making us the broadcasters of the negative stuff in the reality to actually create the negative stuff, if that makes sense. So I would just offer, if this is going on and you feel it and you are unable to clear it and stuff, it's a confirmation that you're doing really well, and it's not pleasant, all right? But I would just offer, I think they've gone after us particularly to actually be those beacons, to actually create a lot of negative perceptions in our emotional state and stuff, which radiates out to actually empower the reality, which is I don't know, that's pretty freaking crazy. It's diabolical, right? But it's like, absolutely, they do not give a shit, right? It's on, and there's no rules in war and love, right? You know what I mean? So just measure yourself to see if you haven't been able to maintain your emotional equilibrium and pure state and stuff, and you think you've been going off and like whatever emotional state and stuff, and just realize that potentially you've been weaponized to be a beacon for this shit, to create the reality we're in and stuff. It's just really mind-boggling. And so if that's the case, all right, just go through the emotional mastery series and stuff. You potentially have stuff in you that's influencing you and stuff, and hopefully with me telling you this variable, it's like you can actually flip it because it's a violation and stuff. And so obviously I've got my modalities and what I offer and stuff like that, but just perceive that, all right, and just realize that in any moment you can choose the emotional state you want to be the antidote and stuff. And so ideally me just saying this will be the antidote, and you'll be able to reflect. And if you've having trouble with maintaining your emotional equilibrium and stuff, there's probably a lot of this stuff going on. Perhaps those people around you are being used as a beacon as well for it. But I would just offer, right, as crazy as what's going on, I don't honestly think it's going to get a lot easier going forward. It's probably going to get a lot nastier, right? So this recent era, and if this is all this stuff has been going on with you, as horrible it is and negative it is that this stuff goes on, it's incredibly rich training time as well, right? So just see how you go, right? And it's not a egotistic thing to recognize how advanced you are and how brave you are to entertain these things and take yourself to another level and be so peerless that no one even recognizes you. But you have to own it in yourself, right? It's a bit like do no harm but take no shit. You have to own your stuff and realize how good you are and how superior all these sort of mechanics are if you've employed them. But you're probably not going to get the recognition or anything because it's going to be so far beyond what anyone else is able to comprehend. So just realize how brave and generous you are to appreciate all these variables, to give a shit about what's going on, and to actually want to be the best and help people out just by you being as amazing as you are, right? Because who knows what will happen. In some of the missions I've done, like really sorting stuff out, ideally that's helped clear the way of what's blocking a lot of people, so they might actually, to me all along it's been like, if you be the example, then people will want to be something other than what's going on, and I still feel that's the truth, right? So don't get perturbed about what's going on. Perhaps you're just going through a real expansion of what's you're able to perceive in your body and everything around you, and you don't know you've gone through that upgrade, and just appreciate that. But now that, oh really, wow, that's what it is, and there is all this crap out there, and then you might want to do something about it, learn a modality and stuff like that, to then maintain yourself in this very rich environment for energetic master training, right? But I hope all this is not meant to be too in depth, and just a few variables out there that's going on, and just like pat yourself on the back for making through this crazy world that we live in, right? So it only shows you how precious this place is and how much it's desired and stuff like that. And so operating with pure source earth and pure source and all that sort of stuff, I don't feel all this stuff would be going on if you've been going through a lot, unless it was the truth, right? And it is a threat. So I would just say, like, don't get perturbed by things. Put your pedal to the metal and just realize what this era you've gained and you've expanded, and you've got a lot of rich data and stuff. And ideally, there is a sweet spot where we can get to and just navigate and just be superior to everything, all right? So keep being strong. Keep focusing on your body. Eat what your body needs. And take your nutrition and all that sort of stuff. Appreciate energy hygiene, and just realize if you are employing certain things like salt packs and all that sort of stuff, salt bars, or doing healing and stuff, you're in the like top 0.000% of humanity at the moment, and you are pretty epic. So I appreciate you being here. I hope you get a lot from this, and let's see how we go, guys. All the best. Andre, the brat from Down Under, on fire, out.
I don't know. Many things. I can go back to school, I guess. Down the sides on this one, folks. This is the saw you want, boys. Bucking, pruning, trimming.
The hotel and restaurant business always held a real allure for me. I'm a people person. What?
Hi.
Hi.
So give us a call, and I'll carve you a great deal.
Nice chainsaw.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm new here. I'm a friend of Ricky Heyman's. Hi, Ricky. Just curious about
Incoming.
chainsaws.
Mayday, Mayday. This is a disaster. This is a massacre. You've got to be kidding.
Can I hold it? It's a dandy. Can I have the weight in my hand? Feel the weight of that chainsaw? Wow.
It's a heavy one. Be careful.
Oh, yeah.
He's staying at my home, and this is his
He
grab
gave
home.
him the
He's
chainsaw. This is gonna be
This is
good.
not good. I have a question. If I said to you, you could watch me sculpt the Venus de Milo with my hands or chainsaw this entire studio, what do you think their call-in vote would be for creation or destruction? You guys call in now. Call.
He's hitting every single set. He's cutting it's a clean sweep. He's making a clean swath from one side of the studio to another.
And I know just what they want.
Now would be a good time to talk about the safety features.
Oh, this is good. McBainbridge will love this.
Oh, no, you've got to be kidding. He's chainsawing our Happy Time Redwood picnic table.
More? Of course you want more.
And bench. He got the whole set.
Now, I admit that was fun. But I ask you, why do we yawn at creation and thrill at destruction? Why?
Okay.
Ask yourself why.
Here it is. Here's his agenda.
Let me tell you, I've been watching for a long, long time, and I don't like what I see. I really don't. Everybody's anxious and scared. Everybody's working all the time, but what do you really gain? And our kids play with computer pets because they've learned from us to trust machines more than they do people. We acquire, we consume, and we waste.
He's barking
Walk
mad.
by each other on the street, we're dead.
He's a lone nut.
And that's not how it was supposed to be. I promise you that was not the plan. And I think it's time some things changed around here. Don't you?
What the hell is going on here?
Turn your sets off.
TV history?
Okay, cut him, cut him.
Here's your chainsaw. Night, Ricky. Here you go. Thanks.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for still being here if you are. So that was, if you appreciate what I said at the start, I was offering a little bit of an extra clip to give context for that because some time has gone. And I've reviewed what I did a couple of times, and I still feel it was a really good just stream of many things to offer you to have some variables. And then I wanted to add a bit more because I was going to do a real short release during the week of just that main body and not be too much and try not to be too heavy as well, just some overview of stuff and some variables to remind you of or maybe they're variables you didn't comprehend or appreciate, and they give you the data points that you weren't able to pattern recognition to help navigate and put yourself back together and stuff. And as I said, I pulled back a bit from doing videos and just focus on people, and then we have taken the data back because I'm really good at getting the data points and working out some stuff that's going on, and I can deal it myself, but then I'm just thorough and invest in the stuff that I'm across and work with people and then see what's there, because I never make any assumptions. Like in my patterns and when I do sessions with people, I'm always thorough. I make no assumptions. I get out of the way and just do what I do and see what reveals itself, even when I'm doing pranic on myself and stuff and doing my healing, because it's really fascinating because the level wiping and stuff, it's just dealing with certain things during the week, so that I worked out there's a big under sort of pressure of bubbling up of the uncertainty going on, and that was weaponized, so we took care of that whether it helps and stuff, we just work out these variables and pull them apart. And then one of the consistent things I know that happens is there can be techiness that actually lets the system know that we're clear and stuff, and then you might get swarmed of shit. So we're working all that out, what's going on. And I think one of the things also is, honestly, a lot of people don't take this stuff seriously. It's nice information and stuff, but you don't really embody it because you don't want to, I don't know, like people are worried about whether they're worthy of doing this and stuff like that. To me, there's just a massive gap, and it's, you know, what I've said about leadership, there's a void and you step in to fill that void sort of thing, and it needs to be done. And to me, I feel a lot of people are, not a lot of people, but there is a pattern of self-sabotage, so you don't have to be on your game for being responsible and stuff and that. And I would just really, really offer, and I might show you the awareness journey image, right? I would just really be thorough on people and just have the courage to question people what dimensional level they're working on, and if they're working with off-world species and all that sort of stuff, right? Because our DNA codes, and I've put them all through the declaration, are very, very precious, and there's perhaps a lot of variables out there that want that from you, right? And working with variables that are very misguided, right? And they've hacked into people and they don't even know they're being run by stuff, right? So just really, doesn't matter what anyone else does, just appreciate that energy hygiene is such an unappreciated variable, let alone what people invest in. And they might just do topical sort of very minuscule efforts into that and they think they're clear and stuff, right? But don't underestimate how much of an edge you being clear, if you invest in this, you are, and how much it's affecting people out there. And you really need to discern what dimensional level people are operating at, right? Like the level of mastery of the influence going on is just so next level compared to anything out there, right? And there's so many variables that I've sort of dealt with that are, I know they've just been totally working with this stuff, because we should know about the Internet of Bodies and everything that's gone on in the last 6 years, you know? So, yeah, just be very discerning on everyone. Like, guard your dimensional and energetic hygiene levels that you're at, and don't assume anyone else is doing it. Have the courage to question people and ask them what dimensional level. And to me, through my journey, I've always loved sort of objects and external tools like oils or crystals or technology and all that sort of stuff, right? But to me, what I've come to, the way I operate is very simple. The way I am in my infinite potential journey is I'm enough, right? And so it's nice to have objects or tools or allies to fall back on and rely on. But I would just really offer that hopefully what you've learned through everything I've said is just how messed up everything is, right? And you might think you're messed up, but you don't get like what you're getting. And if you've really embodied the stuff I've offered, it might be you're so peerless now, it's terrifying to know how far ahead you are, right? And you want to have allies and stuff like that. I would just be very discerning on the vulnerability of externals now, objects, tools, trinkets, all those sort of things, right? Like, are they aligned to pure source? You know what I mean? Is anything out there aligned to that, right? So if you are aligned to pure source, you know, other things might not be, right? And you need to really discern and maybe have a big clear out, you know, and just really discern and contemplate whether you are allowing externals to prop you up and you don't need them, right? So maybe just go clear of a lot of things and just see what is relevant to you now, alright? Hopefully that's vague enough, but it's just worthy of being very discerning of those sort of things at the moment, alright? Because this is a new original spiritual country what we're in, and it's the spiritual wild wild west of all the craziness going on out there. so many concepts are seeded by negative forces, right? To derail our intuitive potential, because a lot of the stuff that's rolling out, New World Order and all that sort of stuff, is we were a threat, right? I'm just going to move on. This is one of the images of the spiritual no man's land, right? And what I've said in the past, people, and I said in the main component of this is that you might be going through expansions and you don't even know it. You might get shocked by the stuff you see and it's horrible, or the stuff you might feel and you think you're being attacked and stuff, but you just finally got the awareness of the shit that's messing with you. You know, entities with tentacles in your head and all this sort of stuff, and going through your body or your spleen and stuff like that. So I would offer, a lot of people are expanding and you're seeing the crap that's going on, and it's quite horrific. And that's, ideally, if you've appreciated the concepts that I've said, then now it's time to get onto them, right? But just appreciate, most people have no direction, right? They don't even know what's going on and stuff, and all these big scale stuff. To me, one of the things about my journey, and I've said this in the past, I was grateful I went through my smashing in life when society was still stable, because I always knew it would be a very uncomfortable and like very challenging variable of the instability of society when you're going through expansion and stuff like that, right? So that's why I've always been thorough, like the Malcolm Gladwell blink and the outliers with 10,000 hours sort of stuff, you know, just be thorough and assume nothing. And that's why I like in my mechanics, I'm always thorough. I never assume stuff, and that I see what goes on, and my whole process of my healing is discovery of, oh wow, that's affecting me and all this sort of stuff. It's crazy. Because it's just the society level of stuff going on is so masterful. We're just playing massive catch up, right? So I hope you're going through expansion and this all helps, right? This is one of the simpler overviews of the spiritual no man's land I tried to introduce in the last few videos, but it's just this insert that's going on, right? To limit us from our vastness and lock society down and stuff, right? So that's just something to appreciate. Hopefully that's a lot simpler for you. And like I said, a lot in the spiritual community, and what level of dimension are they operating at? What are their species and their guides and all that sort of crap? Who are their guides? Do they actually see what's going on? Are they trying to hook you into stuff, right? And limit you, right? And wipe you and stuff, right? And then there's the narrative in society and stuff, and there's crazy things around the world of laws to quash opposition thought to actually big things rolling out, right? It's very organized and sophisticated, and it's not allowing you to see what's going on. And I highly recommend going and watching the documentary series, The Greatest Story Never Told, because it will flip your appreciation of what's happened since World War II, right? The whole 20th century, right? And then you'll see stuff that's being limited so we can't question stuff, right? But the narrative is bogging us down with stuff, and then there's, you know, to corral us in a certain perspective, alright? So I'm just going to move to the other narrative image quick. Because then it's potentially, even in society and spirituality and that, to limit the vastness of what's going on so you don't have accurate perceptions, and then to set you up for failure, right? So whether you accept a higher multi-dimensional level of stuff, if you're not willing to accept it, then you're potentially limiting yourself, right? And then the deeper levels of society, getting to pure source and all that sort of stuff, right? So then it's being able to perceive data accurately to navigate and realize what's a threat and what's in your best interest and stuff. Whether it's bogging you down on an individual level, or those you associate with, or perceiving you in society, or perceiving how insignificant you may be against the vastness going on, and it's not worth trying to align with what you know is the truth, right? The reason why I'm wanting to show you these narrative sort of stuff and the stuff relative to this data and all that is, don't underestimate the sophistication of the influences going on and the subtleties of their levels, even multidimensional, of trying to corral you and the rest of humanity into a alignment with a consensus, alright, to then have data variables that aren't authentic or the truth, to be in alignment with the society wills, so you don't see what's going on and the threats going on when they've been around us for hundreds of years in the 20th century and stuff like that. So if you watch the first of my multidimensional internet series, and I've got more to do on that, and I'm brewing the second one and stuff like that, then you see the level of society that's gone on to create the narratives in the different countries and stuff, right? It's all been sort of planned and rolled out for this sort of stuff, right? So I'm just really inviting you to really question and discern yourself with all this, to be able to sense maybe influence is going on, and ideally me just giving these coordinates for you, then you break them and then you see beyond, and you get the aha moments and you see the threats around you and stuff like that. Just those sort of things on your micro of your life and the macro of society and the bigger scales and stuff, right? So I'm just going to move on to the other image as well. The reason why I'm just showing all these relative to narrative and data and the emotional states and the influence, because the consistent thing I found with people around me is that they're potentially being hacked, violated, sabotaged, their codes raided, life force, kundalini and all that sort of stuff, and they're a fragment of their potential and stuff like that. And then there's blind spots being put in and you can't see the hacks and the back doors and stuff like that. So I'm just really ideally inspiring you to really see it as like spiritual workout and spiritual fitness. And how's your multidimensional muscles and awareness talents and stuff like that? You being here, you're already freaking epic, right? It's not about me being better and all that sort of stuff. I've just worked all this stuff out because it's like discovery is my thing, and it's like, holy F, all this shit is going on, and it's just so next level. And to me, like I said about the leadership, and the gap is so vast, it's just, there isn't anyone, right? And I'm as surprised as you, as this brat from Australia is freaking bringing this stuff. Like, to me, that says how bad all this shit is, right? But I really want to help you sort of just see all this, but don't be perturbed or, feel you're insignificant to it. All this stuff is needed because we are so vast and epic, right? So this is already probably quite expanded from the half an hour that I offered. But it's just a real reminder of just, maybe you're perceiving stuff and no one else is, and you don't trust yourself or believe in yourself, or you need validation from others and they just quash you or gaslight you and stuff, and they're not even on your level, so they're just they already see how vast you are, and they're the ones that are intimidated by your truth and your awareness, and the gap you have is you're not self-accepting yourself. And then, you see, one of the things I know that goes on, if I get hammered and stuff, I just get really depleted and stuff, and it feels like the last thing you want to do is heal and stuff like that. Just see that is sort of a confirmation that something is probably influencing you, and it's trying to keep you in that state to be a minimal, like a minute aspect of your potential and stuff. And then what I find is those times when you're least wanting to do it and you get up and do it, you get massive aha moments and you're on the other side and you get your energy back and you just feel better than ever, right? So you just got to really appreciate what might be going on in the body. Is maybe you're being wiped and you don't even know it and something's in, right? And I've found like people have lost 6 or 12 months or 18 months because they've just been messed up and they don't want to invest in healing and stuff like that. And like I said, I feel like a lot of people actually don't want their responsibility awareness and seeing what's going on, right? I know a lot of people have shot themselves in the foot and they don't want to be feeling like they're on the awareness front line. And then our society has gone into totalitarianism. There's a real cool movie with Christian Bale called Equilibrium. Michael Desarian used to talk about it a lot. I would go watch that, right? It's like a documentary at the moment. And yeah, I hope this helps, right? I'm not trying to be too harsh, or I'm not like saying everything is good and stuff. just use it as a tool. Use it to train up your multidimensional muscles. And what if you're right? You know, what if you accept yourself, right? What's the potential for us all if you anchor that? And a bit like what I said about, I felt like a lot of us were being targeted to actually be beacons for this stuff, to actually create the reality. What if you flip that and you are good and stuff, and you anchor all the antidote to the reality and stuff? And it's just, to me, as crazy it is and ominous it is, the outrageous volume of potential there is in everyone, though, it's a fascinating balance, all right? So we're going to have to see. So thank you for being here. I hope you get a lot from this. I don't want this to be too much. So apologies not being around and stuff, but it's just really epic and stuff. And maybe I'll just drop this at the end as well. I mentioned about the UN and stuff like that. I would go and look between 2020 and 2021, and maybe up to 2022, of what, say, Russia was bringing to the UN for the Security Council, what's going on to them and stuff like that. Because if you've gone and looked at The Greatest Story Never Told, all right, it talks about World War II, of a lot of land was lost from Germany after World War One. It was ceded to other countries, and there was an area of Germany that was taken over by Poland, and there was a lot of horrific stuff done there which drew Hitler into starting the war to protect the people from just diabolical stuff going on. And that lured them into a trap. It was like bait, and that got whole World War II stuff going, right? And so you just have to think, what was Russia trying to bring to the rules-based society that they never got support on, all right? And then that led to what has gone on around them, that is creating this quagmire, right? And to me, it's like Trump said about stopping it if he got in, and to me, it's like, if I was Putin, then I would be wanting the US to admit what they were doing there that draw them in. But the whole narrative has been weaponized, and people don't give a shit about the truth and stuff. And I'm watching this series called The Diplomat. It's pretty cool. And it's just like governed by all these narrative bullshit and stuff. And then you probably want to go to seeing like the stats of all the UN Security Council like resolutions being brought, and who's been the biggest perpetrator, and who's always vetoed and protected them and stuff. So to me, those sort of things, you look at the UN, all right, and they might be interesting, or what was leading up, you know, say after COVID and all the Security Council resolutions tried to be brought forward and stuff like that. It's just remember, truth is the first casualty of war, all right? So we are in one, whether we not want to admit it or not. But I would offer the truth about you is so much more vaster than anything going on, right? So I hope all the data I've offered and tools and data such as the Sovereignty Declaration and stuff, it's been very empowering for you and stuff. And I hope this really helps you. And one thing on a personal level, I realize what's going on with me the last few months, because someone's been in a lot of trouble, and I realize I've been on patrol relative to them without even knowing it. So I hope something helps and gets resolved with this if they're watching and stuff. And some of the stuff I'm able to do is really good, all right? Pretty amazing, and who knows what happens, all right? So I hope this offers you a lot of really pivotal information to help flip a lot of subtleties that you don't even know you've accommodated and stuff, and helps reinvigorate you of your potential and the potency and how far you've come, and without realizing it, right? And it's time to own it, right? So it's pretty crazy what's going on, and I don't think it's going to get better, like I said. So we've got to raise our game and be superior to it, to out create it and out and endure it and stuff like that, right? Because one thing I know about influence is they're reliant on external sources of nourishment, when we've got, you know, our spleen and align with pure source, and the energy of this whole universe is ours and stuff. So we have the endurance to outlast and all that sort of thing. So just recognize our strengths and stuff like that, and realize your attitude is very significant, right? And I hope all I've offered and all this is very potent and an ally to you to help get you through to the next screen, right? A bit like the envoys and in the holographic realities and stuff, right? So I hope this is very helpful. I hope you get a lot from this. Until next time, guys, keep pushing, keep being relentless, and we'll see where we go, all right? All the best. Andre out.
I think it's very important to know that the people now still have an opportunity to fight. All of us across the world understand that our individuality is at stake here. Our most important private property is our body. And of course, surveillance is a vital part. Surveillance, domestic surveillance and control is a vital part of this plan. It is a totalitarian plan. But, you know, just like any other extreme plan, we are, while we are moving towards the end game, we are not there. And this is the opportunity that all of us have now to stand up, to speak out, to refuse to collaborate, to refuse to cooperate, to expose collaborators, to work together to defund these plans, to refuse to demand what it is that corporations want to give us. And so, because no one's holding a gun to our heads right now, we have that opportunity. If that changes, if that moment changes, you certainly won't protest then. So now is the time. And people all over the world are doing this. It's just that the mainstream media is owned by 5 major corporations, and you're not going to get this information from the mainstream press. So you need to be your own press. You need to educate yourself. You need to get out there and educate your neighbors, your community, your real community. You need to help your children understand that they're being indoctrinated from pre-kindergarten to postgraduate school. All of us have a responsibility to ourselves and to others. This is true community, to work for personal freedom. And always remember that even though we work as a group, if we do work as a group, we're all individuals in those groups, and we answer only to ourselves. And this is essential. It's essential as free human beings. This is what we are. We are free, and we need to continue to be free. And I do believe that we will win, but we have to become aware that there is a fight, and then make our friends and our neighbors and our community aware as well, and work together.
In December, heading for the city lights, 975, sharing each other, mirrors and father, scent of lemon drips from your eyes. We are the people that rule the world. Fostering in every boy and girl, all rejoicing in the world. Take me now. We can drive, we live in adventure.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.